Good morning, my dear student. Here I am going to discuss one new topic related to the endocrinology. This is the adrenal gland hormones, which I will discuss in 15 to 20 minutes. The first of all, before going to discuss the physiological aspects of the adrenal glands and their hormones, I would like to discuss some functional anatomy. The functional, there are two adrenal glands, one on either side situated extraperitoneally at upper pole of kidney, known as suprarenal gland. Here it is wrongly written role, also known as gland of emergency. Weight about 5 grams, consists of two parts, adrenal cortex and medulla. The cortex, which is outer one, makes up 80 to 90% of the gland, and the inner one, which is known as medulla, which makes up 10 to 20%. This is large at birth than it's during the adulthood. This is one important point which you should understand. The second one is in this anatomy, the histological structure. When we see the histological structure of adrenal cortex, the one is zona glomerulosa, zona fasciculata, and zona reticularis. These are the three zones. It is zona glomerulosa is the site of aldosterone and corticosterone synthesis. Aldosterone is the principal mineralocorticoids. Zona fasciculata made of cells arranged in two thick columns. Cells appear clear in stained sections because of high lipids. Zona reticularis is made up of network of compactly arranged cords of cells and anastomose to form a kind of network. Zona fasciculata and zona reticularis constitute a single functional unit where mainly cortisol and androgens are synthesized. Adrenal medulla, the composition, it is made up of chromaffin cells innervated by preganglionic sympathetic neurons. The chromaffin cells, these cells are considered to be modified postganglionic neuron which do not have exons. The epinephrine and norepinephrine is largely stored in the subcellular particles called chromaffin granules. Adrenal medulla is now included in APUD cell system or so-called diffuse endocrine system. What is APUD? This APUD stands for amine precursor uptake and decarboxylation. So this is acute cell system, nerve ending present in the adrenal medulla. These are the cholinergic preganglionic sympathetic fibers that synapse directly on chromaffin cells. So hormone of adrenal cortex. The hormone of adrenal cortex brought there, one is glucocorticoids, mineralocorticoids, and adrenal sex steroids. The glucocorticoid, the synthesized by the cells of zona fasciculata. It is formed also by a small contribution of zona reticularis. The first, there are the uptake of cholesterol. There are different stages of synthesis of glucocorticoids. The first step is uptake of cholesterol. The corticosteroid hormone are synthesized from cholesterol, which is actively taken up by the adrenal cells. Cells of adrenal cortex are rich in LDL receptors. The side chain of cleavage of cholesterol, the second step, this is caused by the mitochondrial enzyme 2022 desmolase. The cholesterol is converted to pregnenolone, which is common precursor for all steroid hormone. Then the conversion of pregnenolone to 11-deoxycortisol and 11-deoxycorticosterone. This occurs by hydroxylation reaction. The reaction follows subsequently after the pregnenolone and progesterone and occur within the endoplasmic reticulum. The conversion of deoxycortisol to cortisol. The 11-deoxycortisol is converted back into the mitochondria. The conversion of deoxycortisone to the corticosterone. Under normal circumstances, little corticosterone is formed and cortisol is the dominant glucocorticoid. The 11-deoxycorticosterone is converted to corticosterone by the enzyme 11-beta hydroxylase. So these are the different stages of formation of glucocorticoid synthesis. So there are different enzymes are involved in this. So you should go through all these, that what are the different enzymes which are important and the different steps. The plasma level, transport, metabolism and excretion of glucocorticoids. The plasma level of total cortisol showed diurnal fluctuation and range from 10 to 25 microgram percentage with an average of 14 gram microgram percentage. The cortisol in the plasma, cortisol circulate in two form, bound form and the free form. And the bound form, most of the plasma cortisol is bound to a specific corticosteroid binding alpha 2 globulin. It is a glycoprotein and is called transcortin. A small amount is bound to albumin. Free form, it is constitutes only 5 to 10% of the total plasma cortisol. It is free form which is responsible for the physiological action of hormone. Relationship between the free and bound and transcortin. At normal level, free form is less than 10% of the total plasma cortisol. The transcortin, what is the normal concentration of transcortin is 3 milligram percent and as binding capacity is 20 microgram percent. The concentration of transcortin and therefore total of cortisol is increased during the pregnancy and by the estrogen administration. The transcortin level in the plasma are decreased in cirrhosis of liver, nephrosis and in the multiple myeloma. Corticosterone, like cortisol, it exists in the bound form and that's why its half-life is slightly shorter than the cortisol. Interrelationship between the cortisol and cortisone. The cortisol is converted to cortisone in the kidney by the type 211 hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase. The cortisone is reconverted to cortisol by the 111 hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase. The plasma ratio of total cortisone to total cortisol is 0.1 to 0.2, but because of loose binding of two transcortin, the plasma ratio is close to 1. The metabolism and excretion. The corticosteroids are degraded in the liver and conjugated with the glucuronic acids. Excretion, there are enterohepatic circulation of glucocorticoids. About 70% of conjugated steroids are excreted in urine and about 20% in the feces. Mechanism of action of glucocorticoids. Glucocorticoids act through effect on the gene expression by binding with a specific receptor called glucocorticoid receptor. Most cortisol effect in peripheral tissues are exerted through the type 2 glucocorticoid receptor, while in brain the effects are exerted mainly through type 1 glucocorticoid. Action of glucocorticoids. There are different actions on the different organs and organ system. The one is metabolic effect of glucocorticoids, the metabolic effect on carbohydrate metabolism. There are two main effects: the increased glucogenesis and decreased utilization of glucose in peripheral tissue. So overall, it is a anti-insulin effect, or you can say it causes hyperglycemia. The second one is effect on protein metabolism. It has catabolic effects and anti-anabolic effects. So same thing. One side there is it increases it has catabolic effects, so the more catabolism is there, and other side there is an anti-anabolic effect. The third one is effect on fat metabolism. The one is lipolytic effect as well as lipogenic role. The lipolytic effects of cortisols are due to the actually the presence of unnecessary epinephrine, growth hormone and other lipolytic substance stimulate hydrolysis of stored triglyceride. So during fasting, cortisol permits the accelerated release of stored energy in the form of fatty acids and glycerol for gluconeogenesis. And in the whenever it is lipogenic role, when you talk about lipogenic role, the lipogenesis is also different in the different area of the body. The cortisol excess occurs as selective accumulation of fat in the abdomen, trunk and above, sparing the extremities, which becomes thin due to loss of muscle mass. So it's a very typical pictures of Cushing syndrome, which when you see the picture, when you see the patient of Cushing syndrome, there is a very similar pattern of lipogenesis happens. Then the effect of electrolyte and water metabolism. Retention of sodium and water is one important effect. Aldosterone secretions is also increased, and the promotion of diuresis. So is one of the important. Uh, Physiological action of the various organs in the system, effect on muscle contractility and work performance. The cardiac muscle is maintained by the cortisol. Effect on bone, increase bone resorption and inhibition of bone formation. So both way it causes the osteoporosis is one of the important side effects of the glucocorticoids when we give to the patients. So another, it's important effect of connective tissue, the thinning of skin takes place. Effect on when you talk about the vascular system, the sustained myocardial performance is maintained by these hormones, enhancing the vasopressure effect, production of vasodilator prostaglandins, and maintaining normal blood volume by decreasing permeability of vascular endothelium. Effect of effect on kidney, increase in GFR, glomerular filtration rate, and increase in calcium and phosphate excretion. Effect on CNS. When you talk about the effect of CNS, the absence of cortisols or decrease in cortisols causes mood changes and increased sensitivity to olfactory and gustatory stimuli. And effect of excess of cortisols, it is wrongly written here. Excess of cortisol causes the increased brain excitability and decreased memory function. So in both way, whether it is a hypo or hyper, in both way this cortisol, the level of the concentration of cortisol when changes in the blood, it affects the CNS. So in when it is in excess, when it is hypo, mood changes and increased sensitivity to olfactory and gustatory stimuli, and when there it is a excess of cortisols, there is increased brain excitability and decreased memory function. Effect on GID is not very important, but increased gastric acid secretions and decreased proliferation of gastric mucosal cell. Effect of uh, effect of blood cells and lymphatic organ. Effect of blood cells and lymphatic organ, there is causes istopenia, that causes lymphopenia, but it causes neutrophilia and polycythemia and thrombocytosis. So it's a differential effect on the blood. It causes eosinopenia and lymphopenia, but it causes the neutrophilia and polycythemia and thrombocytosis. What does it mean? The decrease in eosinophil count, basophil count, basopenia. There is decrease in lymphocyte count, but increase in neutrophil count, increase in RBC count, which is known as polycythemia, and increase in platelet count, which is known as thrombocytosis. The anti-inflammatory and anti-allergic effects, which is very anti-inflammatory and anti-allergic effect, which is very important to discuss here. Why? Because it has very important role in the anti-inflammatory. It acts as one of the most important drug. Still there are a lot of drug of acts as anti-inflammatory drugs, but still the glucocorticoids and the cortisols are still being used as a main anti-inflammatory drugs. So how this the anti-inflammatory effects of are produced by the one is cortisol inhibits the activity of phospholipase A2, which is responsible for arachidonic acid products such as prostacyclin, prostaglandin, and thromboxane. So the most important aspect, and that where the cortisol inhibits the phospholipase A2. The phospholipase A2 is the main enzyme which is responsible for arachidonic acids, acid products such as, which is a cyclooxygenase pathway and lipoxygenase pathway. There are two pathways which you have read in biochemistry, that how this cyclooxygenase pathway and phospholipase pathway happens. And this cyclooxygenase pathway, because this one arachidonic acids can be converted into the prostaglandin and thromboxane in the presence of cyclooxygenase, and another where the arachidonic acid can be converted into leukotrienes. So these, the prostaglandin and thromboxane causes vasodilatation, increased permeability, and leukocyte trapping. Other side, the uh, leukotrienes is important for the neutrophil function, and bacterial killing. So these are the anti-inflammatory effects, and so in this way, and the cortisol stabilize the lysosomal membrane. It's one of the postulates, or the by which it has anti-inflammatory effects. Another way how this it acts as an anti-inflammatory agent, the cortisol inhibits the migration of circulating leukocyte as a site of inflammation by blocking the leukocyte receptor for chemotactic agents. Then another effects are the cortisol inhibit leukotrienes, and another one is the cortisol decrease collagen formation. So up to some extent you can say that all the stages of inflammation is inhibited by this glucocorticoids. So the second effect is anti-immunity effect. The cortisol inhibits both cellular and humoral immunity by decreasing the proliferation of T cells involved in the cellular immunity, and the B cell involved in the producing the antibody. Uh, the third one is anti-allergic effect. It's one of the important effect of this anti-allergic effect. And how this anti-immunity effect is important, because when you give any steroids, any glucocorticoids to the patient is immunocompromised. So there are a lot of diseases where we regularly give this steroids or glucocorticoids for the treatment, and that patients are immunocompromised patients. So in this way you should understand that the role of glucocorticoids, one side the glucocorticoid is have one of the strongest anti-inflammatory effect, but other side it has the anti-immunity effect. So any patient is taking a long-term steroid is is prone to this prone to any infection. Then anti-allergic effect, the cortisol reduce the number of circulating basophils and protect against the release of secretory product of granulocyte, mast cells and macrophage, which have vesicle containing the serotonin, histamine and hydrolase. So these are the important mediators of allergy, because these mast cells which release the secretory products of like histamines and serotonin, which are the which causes allergy. Okay. Role of glucocorticoids in fetal life. This also the one is maturation of CNS, maturation of lungs, and maturation of GIT tract. Maturation of lung, which is very important in a preterm baby, means the child delivered before 9 months of their pregnancy. Their lungs are not mature enough, and there is a chances of infant respiratory distress syndrome. So this during fetal life, oxygen is transferred from the maternal blood through the placenta. In the last week of the gestation, the preparation of fetal lungs to permit satisfactory breathing immediately after birth is facilitated by cortisol. And in this way, the pulmonary surfactant lower the surface tension in the pulmonary alveoli and thus permits the proper inflation of lungs immediately after birth. So this is important, and it happens only it happens due to the presence of the adequate glucocorticoids in the fetal blood. Okay. So maturation of GI tract, the maternal glucose is transferred to the fetus through the placenta. So it's not very important, but the most important in out of three, the maturation of lungs is very important, because in a preterm baby we give some steroids. We give some steroid for the maturation of lungs if the preterm delivery happens. Role of glucocorticoid in stress. Actually, it is also known as stress hormone, and increased secretion of glucocorticoid in one of the various mechanisms involved in adaptation to the various stresses. Due to action of stimuli on hypothalamus, ACTH is released, which in turn increase glucocorticoids. Actually, uh, the the hypothalamus release the corticotropic releasing hormone, which stimulates the anterior pituitary, and this anterior pituitary stimulates to it stimulate anterior pituitary releases ACTH, and this ACTH increase ACTH uh, stimulates the adrenal cortex, which is which produce the glucocorticoids. So glucocorticoid secretion can be increased up to 20-fold depending on the type of stress. Regulation of glucocorticoid secretion. Uh, Here it exerts through effect through three important three ways. The one is corticotropin releasing hormone, that is CRH, which is released from the hypothalamus. The another one is adrenocorticotropic hormone, which is released from the anterior pituitary, and the glucocorticoids negative feedback effect, which acts on both uh, anterior pituitary as well as hypothalamus. Okay, so how it acts, how it happens? Any emotions which acts via the limbic system, any stress stimuli which acts via the reticular activating system, and the third is diurnal variation of rhythm derived from the limbic system, and the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is also known as the site for the biological clock or the diurnal variations. Diurnal, which is biological clock, and the which is center for the biological clock. So these emotions, stress and diurnal variations. So emotion acts through the limbic system, stress acts through the reticular activating systems, and the diurnal variations derived from the limbic system and the suprachiasmatic nucleus acts on the higher center. Higher center means the cerebral cortex. This acts on, this sends the signals to the hypothalamus. Then hypothalamus releases CRH, corticotropin releasing hormone, and this release of CRH acts on the anterior pituitary, which increase the secretion of the ACTH, and this increase of ACTH increases, it stimulates the adrenal cortex, and it increases the cortisol. So what happens? This cortisol increases, but when there is a excess of cortisol present in the blood, or the blood level of cortisol increases, what happens? There is a negative feedback effect on the anterior pituitary and hypothalamus occurs. So this negative feedback mechanism on the anterior pituitary and hypothalamus have the role to regulate the glucocorticoid secretion. So in this regulation of glucocorticoid secretions, what are the main organs which are involved? One is higher center of the brain, which is cerebral cortex. The other one is a hypothalamus. The third one is anterior pituitary, and the fourth one is adrenal cortex. So these four balance together and coordinated secretions and regulates the secretion of glucocorticoid for the normal functioning of our body. Thank you for patient hearing. I will discuss the other hormones of adrenal glands in the next class.